Hey there guys, Gamer Jamie Triple One here, and I just want to take a few minutes to sort of talk to Turn10 and just say what I'm feeling after, you know, the release of Forza Motorsport. Now, I know the title of this video may sound like I'm going to be negative, but I am going to be far from negative. I'm hoping this will be more constructive criticism. As a huge fan of the brand and the franchise as a whole, I have loved Forza since Forza Motorsport 2, all the way back in 2007. I have bought every single Forza game, an expansion, an add-on, since I got into the games. The hell was that? But what I am going to be talking about in this video is for Forza Motorsport 2 or 9 or whatever they call the next game, and why they should consider abandoning the current game by 2025. I love the Forza franchise, and I don't want to witness it going down the crapper the way it is currently, with a buggy, messy game. Patch updates that make reference to a car that's not in the game, patch notes that blatantly lie to you by saying it's fixed a car and you go on and it wasn't until months later, etc. Things like that. So it hurts to make a video like this, but at this point the best thing Turn10 can do is what I'm going to lay out in this video. Now, I've got 5 things that they need to focus on, and the first thing is the most obvious from a business standpoint: complete any outstanding contracts concerning car releases, track releases, etc. for paid content within the deluxe boost version of the game, as well as any contracts that are sealed and finalized and non-negotiable for moving about too much in terms of release dates, but only for those with a December 31st, 2024 final date. Anything that goes into 2025 should be dropped or redrafted for the next game, or if there is a week overlap with the final update that slips into 2025. After that, though, there should be no new cars being added to this game. Basically, once Forza Horizon 6 releases, start abandoning this motorsport and share everything with Horizon. They should start on January 1st, 2025, focusing on the follow-up game, which is where the second thing that they should do is abandon the current Forza engine and genuinely start from the ground and make a brand new Forza engine for the current gen that is future-proofed for at least the next decade, like it was for the Xbox One engine that they're still using now. And if it takes them 10 years to develop the game, then so be it. There is no point releasing a half-arsed game and then patching it constantly to it being a good enough game to play, only to abandon it when the follow-up comes out, and rinse and repeat for each follow-up. Because over time, less people are going to want to play the game day one if they know it's just going to get better closer to its life cycle ending. Plus, this puts a lot of negative sightlines on the devs who are making the game, and they're not to blame. It's higher ups constantly changing stuff, and the devs trying to keep up while still trying to keep to a set release date that ends up with a major crunch culture. That's why I like what Rockstar is doing. A release window of 2025, and if it is pushed into 2026 to avoid crunch, they will do it. and they haven't got a set date, so it's plausible deniability for them to say it was due in December 2025 and it's now August 2026 or something. All of this because everyone saw what happened to Cyberpunk 2077. But sure, it might be a half-decent game now with an amazing story, but it was a buggy, barely working mess, and it took almost 3 years for the game to be finished enough to be played start to finish without crashing and some kind of severe texture bug. And it seems like Forza Motorsport is just another victim of higher ups pushing a beta testing phase game out the door so they don't lose too much money on the devs' expertise because there's no money flowing into their pockets while there's no game on the market. Thirdly, they need to scrap most of the models pre-Motorsport 7 in terms of what was genuinely new to Forza at that point. Because the Lancer Evo 6 has been the same model for 19 years now. And I think the S15 Sylvia has been the same wrong model for as long. They should scrap all the car models and go out and rescan every single car, including those older cars from the first Motorsport. And listen to the fans on this one, especially because they proved they're willing to do it. They went out and scanned a 22B Subaru Impreza for the new game, rather than using the old modelled from pictures method that the first game's car models had. But I know that would be more time consuming to rescan cars you released into your game, starting with FH4 or FH5 or Motorsport 23. So I am given some leeway because I know everything brand new to Forza from Motorsport 7, Horizon 4, Horizon 5 and Motorsport 23 are all laser scanned and are as accurate as possible to the real life variants. So anything pre-Motorsport 7, drop and rescan. Fourth, they need to stop adding old content in as new content. Because why would I want to play on the new game when I can go back to Motorsport 7 and play with a lot more cars and a lot more variety of cars, including SUVs, or go back further to Motorsport 4 and play with tiny city cars like the Ford KA or the Peugeot 107 and cars along that line. All because they cut those cars at launch and will likely add them back in as part of a DLC pack, or they'll add them in as new content so they don't have to go out and actually license new cars. They cut out over 200 cars from Motorsport 7 to Motorsport 23 and have added some of them back in as background content to boost the numbers for new content. They added some actual new content, but not enough to justify the removal of over 200 cars. Now, I get that licensing is likely a huge factor, but to wipe out entire genres of racing, SUVs, city cars, things like that, just shows that it's not so much to be more focused, but is actually to try and sell the initial focusing and then re-add the less focused content when they can't release something else, or to fill in a space to boost numbers. To the point that the featured series, as I'm writing this, is all about Italian cars, and the returning cars are the Lancia Delta Integrale, the Abarth Fiat 124 Spider, Alfa Romeo Giulia, and the Lamborghini Murcielago SV is the car that you win at the end. A car I have 20 of in Horizon 5, They have also removed cars as significant as the Veyron, the Huracan, which has a big update slot for a car that isn't in the game currently, either because it's removed fully or they're holding it back to boost content. They don't even have a racing series for one of their own cover cars. The Cadillac doesn't have a racing series in the entire game. LMP cars as a whole don't have their own racing series within the game. You have to go in and manually make your own races with the LMP cars set as an option to have the races that should be in the game, like as series. Fifth, stop trying to generalize to as broad of an audience as you can. The crowd will follow the game for a few weeks, but once that hype dies down, only the loyals will be there. So listen to them and implement as much of it as you legally and feasibly can. Car bowling, car football, autocross, drag races, etc., as well as the cars that people are wanting in the game. I personally loved that SUVs were in the game, and I wish there was more in the game because it's not the most normal thing to see on a racetrack, but it's fun nonetheless. City cars too. 50 horsepower shitboxes with barely enough grunt to get out of its own way is hilarious when you're on a track with 23 other 50 horsepower shitboxes battling that out for 23rd with 25 other drivers. It's insane, but it's absolutely amazing to watch and even better to be a part of, and above all, it's fun. That's what Motorsport 23 has lost, its fun factor, where people would jump on to play a game of car football with their friends. Now it seems like you have to spend weeks of your life grinding the game so you can have the cars you want and be able to upgrade them. Many people have said it's like having a second job, and it's just driving around the same racetrack until you get a high enough level to really upgrade your car as much as you can. And a game should never really feel like work. The progression system of pushing you into using specific cars for long stretches only works when you have long stretches between visiting the same racetrack, or where you have so many different layouts that you'll never visit the same layout within a 24-hour period, even if you play it non-stop. But I literally had to do the same race twice with the same car on the same track with the same layout, because there is that few layouts to choose from, and an even fewer amount of tracks. And all of this hype of actually listening to the fans may encourage more of the casuals to dive into Forza more, and allow even more casuals to discover how fun the game can be, rather than the corporatized bland grey slog it is to get through currently. Going back to Motorsport 4 was like stepping into a different franchise. That was fresher than Motorsport 23. And finally, Turn10 needs to just let Forza Motorsport rest for a good few years. Develop another title in the meantime, and let Motorsport die for a couple of years, and then bring it back in a big genre-defining way in 2035 or something. And really pour their passion and individuality and creativity and love for cars into it, rather than making it a bland, corporatized grey background for some occasionally colourful polygons to pop on your screen in a vague shape of a car. Even looking at Forza Motorsport 6, the last game that wasn't grey and bland, it was blue with different shades of blue, and that worked for a mature game with a lot of fun elements. But with Motorsport 7, it just sucked all the colour out of its soul while still having some of the fun elements like autocross and drag races. And then with Motorsport 23, it was just corporate fodder with no soul, no fun, no colour, just to fling it out to satisfy a check line that covers the bills and investors' bottom lines. If they make Motorsport 2 or Motorsport 9, whatever they call it, and it is just a pure repeat of Motorsport 23, then it truly will be the death of the series as a whole. And no reboot is going to save it without at least 2 decades and 2 console cycles between the release of that game and the reboot. This is the time to step back, reevaluate, get your bearings, start on the floor, and I mean the literal floor. Scrap everything and start over. Truly start over as if it was 2003 and you had just started on the original Forza, and bring the game back to life, and don't release anything until it is as near perfection as you can get it, with very few bugs that can be fixed with a day one patch update at most. And it's as colourful and as creative as Forza's of the past 19 years. Because this franchise has the staying power. It's now they need to step back and restart the rebooting process, but make it as good as they can for the fans, with the fans. Ignore the masses. Focus on your fans. If the game is good enough, the masses will come, because they'll want to try it out for themselves after watching the fans raving about it online, rather than how they're currently ranting about it, which is plunging the player base down. Horizon 4 came out 5 and a bit years ago. I still go back to that game every now and again because I had fun in that game. I've been on Horizon 4 more since Motorsport 23's release than Motorsport 23. I literally can't go an entire week without going on Horizon 5 for the weekly new cars, the weekly playlist to complete, etc. Whereas I have missed entire weeks and multiple weeks before going back onto Motorsport 23, because it's like going into work. And you know you'll hate it, but you have to do it, otherwise you'll miss out on a donut that you'd had on other days in previous jobs, but this time it just might be different. It isn't, but you hold out hope. With Motorsport 2 or Motorsport 9, I want to go onto the game and feel like I'm on vacation for the rest of my life, traveling to all the different racetracks of the world and going around them in any car I want, from the silly Nissan Zuru or Ford Ka or Aston Martin Signet, all the way to the latest hypercars from Bugatti to Pagani to the downright insane like the Bugatti Bolide or Aston Martin Valkyrie AMR Pro, all whilst being able to take the Range Rover SVR or Jaguar F-Pace or Bentley Bentayga or even a Rolls-Royce Cullinan, hopefully, to the Nürburgring and see how long it will take to roll these high gravitated boats. Not to mention the downright weird options of a Reliant Robin, Reliant Scimitar, or even bringing the Austin Taxi into the Motorsport franchise. I, for one, would love to see the Austin Taxi round the Nordschleife, or see how it'll fare on the corkscrew at Laguna Seca. Basically, what I am saying, Turn10, is bring back the fun factor and get rid of the corporate factor, because your fans can literally make or break you, and another corporate slog release will see the end of the Forza Motorsport franchise. Forza will just be Horizon, and maybe another mobile game they buy and scratch off the original name and scroll Forza on in crayon. Another game like Motorsport 23, and all the fans you spent 19 years curating will turn their back on the franchise. I've been here for 16 years, haven't gotten my first Forza in Christmas 2007. I don't want to see this franchise die, especially since this franchise is the reason I am even into cars in the first place. I didn't know car models or engine sizes and whatnot before I got Motorsport 2. I got all of that from being on Forza and then researching it further in my own time away from the game. And I've gone from not being able to tell the cars, makes, and models apart to being able to now, whenever I'm in the street, I still don't understand the whole E36, E46, E92 stuff, but because that was largely an internal naming system for the distinctive models, I haven't taken too much notice to being able to name all of the different models. And this is my plea to Turn10 Studios. Please, for the love of all the V8s with their twin turbos popping and banging, don't overlook this opportunity you have right now. We, the fans, are begging you to listen to us closely, and not just the Forza race regulation teams. The fans who want the fun Forza track racer back. You can still have the serious sim Forza race regulation fans and teams, but the silly Forza fans need some loving too. And I'm willing to give a lot of ideas if Turn10 want to get in touch, or even get in touch with Black Panther or AR12 Gaming or some of the other Forza YouTubers who can give you some of the best game modes or track options possible. Just please listen to fans, because they are it now. The casuals are not going to come to your game. The casuals are not going to flood the game with playtime. It's going to be the fans. And if the fans find it good enough and the casuals happen to see the fans finding it good enough, the casuals will come. But the fans of the franchise is where it needs to be focused now. I'm recording this just after, well, not just after, it's been about 2 weeks since the release of Update 5. And it's just not good enough. I know that with Update 6, they're going to be changing the car progression system, so you now pay credits to get car points. And even that isn't good enough, because you have to still slog through to get the credits, to get the car points. At which point you might as well just save the money to buy the cars and just still play it and get the car points that way. So either they need to change the entire core of the game so that you don't have to, like level up to be able to change the car in whatever way you want to change it. But they do need to do something, because it's just not good enough right now, which is why they need to sit back and reevaluate and effectively just restart. Scrap everything with Motorsport 23 and just basically start from the ground up genuinely this time. Don't just say that you started from the ground up and still have a car in there from nearly 20 years ago. Fans are going to notice that, and fans are going to get pissed off, and fans are going to start walking away from the franchise. Now is the time where you just stop, go back to the board, not the board of executives, the drawing board, and restart. Reshape Forza for the future. Genuinely drop the next game. Like, just drop it until you know for certain that your new Forza engine is going to be future-proofed. Because the current Forza engine just is not good enough. And basically anything pre-Motorsport 7, any models that predate scanning for Motorsport 7, scrap. Completely scrap them. And rescan every single model, including, but not limited to, the S15 Silvia and the Mitsubishi Lancer Evo 6. This is a plea to Turn10. Just, I don't want to see the end of Forza Motorsport this soon. It's got the staying power. You just need to focus on your love of cars first and foremost, and how fun they can be. What fun you can use them in. What fun you can have with these cars. Whether it's car football, I don't know. Like, I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but like car football, like car chasers. You know, and like some cars have like blue lights, make them chasers, and you know, make them like cops and robbers sort of thing. Presidential chase thing. You know, allow them to sort of like, I don't know, it just put more fun into it and add a lot more strange cars into it. Don't just be adding like the latest and fastest like Indy cars or NASCARs and cars like that, like LMP cars and stuff, because the fans don't necessarily want them. We do, but we'd much rather, you know, a silly car like Ford Ka or Ford Fiesta or Aston Martin Signa. Something small that you can thrash about a a racetrack without ever having to touch the brakes because they're 50 horsepower shitboxes. You know, that's what the fans want because it's a lot more fun. So I do think that's what Forza is missing, the fun factor. And I do hope that Turn10 bring it around, but only time will tell, I suppose. But for now, I'm going to end this video here. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. Leave down in the comment section anything that you want changed. But yeah, and put down in the comment section any cars you'd like to be added. You know, any cars that's not in the game currently that you'd like to be added. Because you never know, somebody at Turn10 just might see this video. And they may take suggestions from the comment section. You never know. So, I'm going to end this video here. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. All that good stuff. I've been Gaming Jamie 111, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye. Oops.